Another aspect of the relationship between MAKOM and prayer is that right in the middle of the word MAKOM are the two letters Kuf Vav, Kav, which means a line, which is the very same root for the word tikva, which is hope. That's hope, is when you see the road ahead. Hope is when you can look forward and understand that there's some place that you're going towards and that you can arrive at. That's really the nature of tikva, is to have that experience in life, which is that I'm not stuck where I am, that I have a place to move to, which is absolutely amazing in terms of makom, because you might actually get stuck in the presentness of makom. I don't think that's the experience necessarily in meditation, but if you think about it a little bit, you probably, most regular people at least, after a while, okay, they're done, they're ready to move forward. Or even just take an example of when you go to the beach, and you're on the beach and it's really nice and you're really enjoying yourself and it's just pleasure. You got that lounge chair, you might even sleep over at the beach, it's a great thing to do. And then you're on the lounge chair and another day in the lounge chair. And then, at a certain point, you're ready to go back to life. In a way, the waves themselves are kind of like a expression of, wow, I can just kind of resubmerge myself in the oceanic presence of makom, for our purposes, of the yam. And then the waves come back out and they're ready to move on and start again. And so that's kind of the way it works, that pulsing, that oscillation in life, going back and forth. That is also an expression of kav, where you're in movement and then you're stasis, you're in movement, you're in stasis. In a way, the mem at the beginning and mem at the end are the stasis, and the kav in the middle are the desire to move from that place. It's a bit of a drasha, but I think it's actually a good reflection of the way this kind of works. You know what I mean? It's like an interaction which we're probably most of us familiar with. And so, in any case, however you take it, embedded in that word kav is actually that tikva. Another thing which I think is of interest here and also of practical impact is that the very first place in the Torah where the word kav appears is in the context of mayim. That's very suggestive. And in fact, it's in the same pasuk which talks about yikavu hamayim lemakom echad. So that yikavu means that they are gathered together. That gathering together is actually making a line. It means that they're there for a particular purpose in this specific place, that the dry land should now be able to be available for things to grow, right? So you see how gathering together actually reflects a certain kind of a purposefulness, right? So that purposefulness indicates that there's hope, that things are going to be moving forward and going someplace beyond where they would have stayed if the mayim had simply been there. So it's an amazing thing in Lashon HaKodesh in Hebrew that the same letters of water, mayim, become like the context for the kav, and then yikavu hamayim limakom echad plays on both of those and reflects how just kind of an unending, sort of undefined expansiveness and formlessness of water becomes specified into a line. Well, I don't think there could be a more beautiful and graphic description of what's happening in this shift in meditation from the wide openness of the makom meditation of just being in place and then becoming gathered together into a particular line which focuses us towards a purpose and an intention. That's really so beautiful and perfect a description of the shift which the Chachamim, which the rabbis are talking about when they say that a person is mechavein their leiv lamakom umitpalalim. And here's another layer for us in understanding why makom becomes the preparation for prayer. You see, as you become more more focused and in touch with and aligned with and attuned to all those sub-meanings of the word lechavein that are happening as you are in this makom meditation and become more aligned and attuned to place, so then you become available to an urge which is embedded in place. The urge which is embedded in place is that there should be growth towards. That place is actually serving growth. That place is the context for evolution, for evolving farther, right? Place is not something which is there just for its own sake. The very nature of place is that it's providing for that which will occupy it. And that, I believe, is very much the understanding here, which is embedded in the Hebrew word and which becomes embedded in the way we meditate. The opening and the presencing, which are so important, and I don't want us ever to skip over those just because, oh, I see, so it's about getting somewhere, it's about praying, so I'll just start praying. No, it doesn't work like that. The way it works is that you become presenced to place, and then in almost a natural way, your heart begins to awaken to desire. I want you to imagine it like the way your heart awakens to a desire after you've been on the beach a few days to get back to life, so to speak, to get back to progressing, to moving ahead, to developing, to creating, to contributing, etc., right? So you may or may not get in touch with that natural urge, and I don't want you to rush it, but it's there. So at least you should experiment with that like a few times. We're like, I'm done. I know it, I'm done. Now it's time to take, and here's the idea, to take the blissfulness and the pleasure of that confident, joyous being into your prayers of hope, such that your prayers of hope don't come out of a place of emptiness, despair, chas v'shalom, or hopelessness, obviously not, but or disrest or discomfort. No, there's something here which is about tefillah, that's coming out of this world of the Hasidim, of the Shohim, which is actually quite pleasant, quite blissful, quite joyous. And in fact, the Talmud, on the page after where the Mishnah is, that's about the Hasidim Rishonim, says, no, ein omdim litpalel lo mitoch. You don't get up to pray, not out of sadness, not out of chatter, not out of empty and aimless thinking, but out of joy. What's the joy we're talking about? I believe that one level of the joy we're talking about is the joy I'm describing now. There's a joyous presence of the great resource of this place. There's a joyous presence in the great resource of presence itself as a resource for all movement, development, and growth. Yeah. And then when I connect to that, so then I open up to the line, to the hope, to the movement that I'm going somewhere, and I'm intending something. What am I asking for? What am I going to yearn for? What am I going to ask for Hashem to improve? Okay, we'll explore how we make that shift also in a different teaching or a different set of teachings, really, about prayer itself. But for right now, in terms of the connection to Makom, this is like a really different way of coming to that prayer by connecting to the Mayim, the Mem, to the oceanic presence of givens that Hashem has given us. And then from within that, Yikavu Hamayim, letting them sort of gather. The waters themselves are gathering and now becoming more focused and intentional about the growth which that gathering enables and empowers. And then we're able to turn to Hashem and call to Him to indeed enhance that growth, make this world a better place, and to pray for all of the gifts which we know will move ourselves and our world forward. I want to invite you to join me in a meditation which will help us to enhance this movement in the meditations of MAKOM.